Ryan Gorman with you from iHeart filling in so the team here can relax a bit. 2020 has a way of burning you out real quick, so I'm sure the rest will do them some good. In the meantime, we're hitting on the big news of the day and trying to get you prepared for an unusual Thanksgiving holiday. You know, sometimes these gatherings are difficult during normal times, let alone during a pandemic and following a contentious election. So to help us navigate it all, I'm joined by Dr. Lisa Palmer, psychotherapist, founder of the RenewMe Center of Florida, and former Miss Vermont USA. Dr. Palmer, thank you so much for joining us. So many of us have been living in isolation for so long. It can be tough anytime, but especially during a stretch when we're used to being with other people, including family and friends. These gatherings, they're a big part of our lives, and now for many, they're going to be a lot different if they exist at all. What are some ways that people can cope with that kind of disruption?
And, you know, Ryan, I'm one of those people because usually every year I get together with my family and several of my family members want to socially isolate this year. So it is really stressful. And a lot of people are just, you know, staying home or maybe seeing their family members on Zoom. I might do a Friendsgiving. I don't know. We'll see. So there may be some alternatives, but the reality is that a lot of people are going to be home alone. And gratitude is a big thing on Thanksgiving and having thanks for what we have. And I think that, you know, this time of COVID and this time of social isolation really brings us back to that, really brings us back to the basics. So I think we have to focus on gratitude.
I don't know about you, but Thanksgiving, honestly, it's my favorite holiday. I mean, I don't know how any other holiday can beat it. It's based around food and family and friends and football. I mean, it's a great combination. And for a lot of people, they're just used to these get-togethers. And without them in an already tough year, it could really weigh on a person.
Absolutely. And just traveling alone and being able to get away helps with well-being. And that can cause a lot of anxiety for people just to be out of that tradition, not being able to travel, not to be able to get that breath of fresh air and go someplace different. So unfortunately, a lot of people are going to be home, they're going to be isolated, and we have to make the best of the holiday season and really come back to basics, going back to what we're thankful for now, home cooking and enjoying, you know, some of those basic pleasures. Maybe putting up your Christmas tree if you're Christian, some of your decorations, home cooking, and gratitude, going back to gratitude, because when you have gratitude for just even the simple things, which of course I encourage people on a daily basis to do that, I actually keep a gratitude list myself of 15 things a day that I'm grateful for. It's a really great practice because what it's doing is activating feel-good feelings in your brain. And when you do this, it helps to reduce your anxiety, which we can tend to have around the holiday season or any time, especially this time. And it enhances your positive core belief systems. So there's a lot of positive aspects of just being grateful for the simple things.
I'm joined by Dr. Lisa Palmer, a psychotherapist, to talk a little bit about coping with all the different challenges that come with this unusual holiday season. For those who are getting together for Thanksgiving, it's not just the pandemic that everybody's been dealing with in 2020. Also, we had a contentious election and politics could come up. And that's why I mentioned earlier that you're a former Miss Vermont USA, because you know how to handle yourself in these kinds of situations. And I'm sure you have some valuable advice for all of us so we don't get wrapped up in heated conversations and ruin a nice Thanksgiving.
Oh, boy. Yeah, I was wondering why you mentioned something that happened so long ago. So why did you bring that up? But yeah, absolutely. Talking politics at the table is always contentious. It can be very contentious. So we want to make sure that we avoid conflict. And I know that some friends of mine and some family members, we don't talk about politics. That's just pretty much off the dinner table. It's off the table entirely because we differ. And you want to make your Thanksgiving something that is peaceful. We need more peace. We need more togetherness. We need more belonging. We need more feel-good feelings. And definitely there's a lot of decisiveness and differences about politics, and that people feel very strongly about that. So what I really encourage people to do is to, if the politics comes up, to listen without judgment. I know that's hard, but you're entitled to your opinion and other people are entitled to their opinion. And I think that people have to understand that we can listen without having to react. We can just listen and respect somebody else's opinion, and we don't have to, convince someone that you have a right to your opinion and they have a right to their opinion. So that's the first thing, is to listen, to respond, and to not react.
And does it also make sense, if that conversation is going to happen on Thanksgiving, to have that conversation earlier in the day before, the wine starts flowing and the beer starts flowing and all of that? That rarely adds to a better discussion.
Yeah, communication is key. And if you can set ground rules, that's perfect, to say, hey, listen, we're going to have a wonderful Thanksgiving and we don't want to talk about politics. Let's leave that off the table. And if that does come up and it is something that is really bothering you, you can take a breather from the table. You can set boundaries and just not talk about it, or maybe try to switch the conversation to lighter topics. But you have to try to create a respectful environment, and you have to try to encourage that and try to be positive of other people and their opinions as well. Let's try to focus on the positives of what is going right, and maybe what our goals are, for ourselves and our lives, and our blessings and our wishes for this upcoming year, the year that we're coming into. And again, going back to gratitude and what we are actually grateful for in our lives right now. And if you are able to be with your family on Thanksgiving, then that is something to be grateful for in and of itself, because there are going to be so many people who are socially isolating and not able to be with their family members.
I'm joined right now by Dr. Lisa Palmer, a psychotherapist, helping us navigate all the different possible issues that could pop up in this, again, unique holiday season. And one thing that's always very stressful, regardless of whether or not there's a pandemic happening, holiday traveling. It's very, very taxing. And this year, even more so, because, people are traveling and they're concerned about their health and their safety. They're concerned about potentially catching something and bringing it to a Thanksgiving gathering, or bringing it back home and infecting somebody else. It's weighing on people. What are some ways that everyone can deal with that stress in a healthier manner?
As far as the traveling itself is concerned, you want to plan ahead and schedule more time, to get to the airport and to do the things that you would normally do when you're traveling or wherever you're traveling. Just build in that extra time so that you're not too stressed when you're traveling. So plan ahead, give yourself enough time, and take all the precautions that you're supposed to take with the masks and sanitizing and, keeping a safe distance with people. And what I would say is something that would be really beneficial for people when they're traveling is to meditate. And, I'm launching an app next year called RenewMe, but there are some other apps that are out there now that people can download through their iOS smartphone that have different audio tracks of meditation and so on and so forth, where they can listen to some meditations that will help them to relax. And relaxation is key. So those are some tips that I would recommend so that travelers can be safe and feel balanced while they're traveling.
Dr. Lisa Palmer, psychotherapist and founder of the Renew Center of Florida, with us here to talk about dealing with all the challenges that come along with this holiday season that's happening right in the middle of a pandemic. Dr. Palmer, thank you so much for the time and insight. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on the show.
And hopefully there was something in there from Dr. Palmer that'll end up helping you over the next few days, whether it's with the stress of traveling or the stress of the political conversations that pop up at the Thanksgiving dinner table. It's a lot to deal with these days. I'm Ryan Gorman, filling in from iHeart Radio.